guys, it's Becky. Wanted to give a little introduction about this presentation. I pre-filmed it, but I'm currently walking in the building right now. I'm dressed professionally to give a presentation about REDS. Hopefully you enjoy it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Join the research squad because you can become part of my Go Pack too, and you're literally on this journey with me becoming a registered dietitian who has her master's. Okay, we are about to hop into this building. Wish me luck. Today we are talking about REDS, relative energy deficiency in sports. And today we are going beyond the triad, and Caroline and Javier are going to help us. So IOC consensus statement, they created a umbrella term which became more inclusive, including male and female athletes, because before it was only called the female athlete triad. And they came up with the definition, so impaired physiological functions, including but not limited to the things stated on the screen. So metabolic rate, menstrual function can be affected by REDS, protein synthesis, cardiovascular health, all because of relative energy deficiency. So I want to ask you guys, does anyone know what REDS was previously known as? Nope? Okay. So it was previously known as the female athlete triad, FAT for short. So FAT presented only three things: so spectrum of energy availability, menstrual function, and bone mineral density, how thick and how healthy your bones are. But we all know that it only represented a specific population. So we wanted to go beyond that and have a more inclusive term. So relative energy deficiency in sports was created, and we all know from our Nutrition 101 class, energy in equals energy out, but with REDS, that does not apply. So REDS can cause physical and emotional issues in athletes, and the last thing we want to do is for them to be injured and sit on the bench, because it can be an economical thing. They can either lose their scholarships or they could not be taking their team to the big win. So REDS can cause decreased muscle strength, higher risk of injury, and change in hormonal levels. And as you can know, even athletes and the normal day-to-day person, these things can impact their health. So these are two pictures, and this is the impact of REDS. If you focus your attention to the left, the etiology, you can see that REDS, the triad, the female athlete triad, menstrual function, bone health, and low energy. But if you look at a macro level and zoom out, you can see that REDS impacts so many other things. So growth and development, metabolic, endocrine, bone health. And some of the symptoms of REDS on your right could be depression, irritability, decreased glycogen stores. So glycogen is found in your muscles, and you need that in order to fuel your muscles to run, to jump, to not get sore. So you're going to also have decreased endurance performance, and again can impact the athlete's performance. So you're asking yourself who is affected. All in all, organized sports, so ballet dancers, figure skaters, gymnastics. But in general, anyone can develop REDS regardless of the age, the gender, the race, economic status, or sexuality. So you want to approach this disorder with an inclusive mind and thinking ability, not just one specific gender or one specific type of athlete could get REDS. So this hits close to home to me, and this is one of the reasons why I want to present on this topic. And so my friend Caroline, she's 23, she was presenting with endocrine issues, hematological issues, and menstrual issues, functional hypothalamus amenorrhea, which is what we're going to click on, and we're going to talk more on in the next slides. So I am a visual person, and I want to introduce you to Caroline so you can put the science to a person and see the disorder in person.
Hi, my name is Caroline Schlobe. I'm 23 years old. Becca asked me to do this video. I've been kind of an athlete my whole life. I grew up playing basketball, volleyball, and recently I became a certified personal trainer. I definitely should be eating more. I never realized how much you kind of expend just sitting at rest, when you're an athlete. Like, I lost my period for 2 years. I eat really balanced. I love like avocado toast, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, smoothies, Cheez-Its. Like, I eat really a variety of food. Like, I still eat steak and shake and like fast food and all that, but I also make sure I'm eating nutrient dense just to make my body feel good. But yeah, so that's kind of like my diet. Got it back in January just by eating more, and I did gain weight, which was what my body needed, and I never realized that. Definitely noticed a difference with eating more. Just overall, like, my health has gotten way better. Food is definitely fuel, and I've learned that the hard way, but yeah, so I hope that kind of gave you my background.
So now that we met Caroline, hopefully you can put a face to the disorder and notice that anyone, your mother, your father, your sister, your teacher, can be at risk for REDS. So let's talk about the metabolic pathways and dive into the science behind REDS. So as you can see, there is a brain to your right, and so hormonal and metabolic imbalances can happen with REDS. And we know that low energy can affect the whole body and especially the hormones. And the hypothalamus is in your brain, and it's responsible for a lot of the sexual reproductive hormones. And so GRNH is the estrogen and testosterone, and that's found in your hypothalamus. So we know that menstrual function, a normal period cycle, is 21 and 35 days. But if you look at the data, any secondary amenorrhea is absence of your menstrual cycle for 3 cycles. And we can see that in collegiate women in general, it ranges from 2 to 5%. But when you see the dancers and long distance runners, that number is significantly high. So we have to ask ourselves why and what other things are impacting, and how the hypothalamus is such a big role in our everyday day-to-day function, especially if you're eating at a low energy availability. So other factors can be influence of the hormonal levels. We all know insulin's a big thing for our bodies. Ghrelin, cortisol, and growth hormone, all those things can impact our body in a huge way. So next up are the bones. And peak bone mass occurs around age 19 or 20 years. And peak bone mass is just how much bone mass you occur in your day, in your life. So we all know that a high level of testosterone, which is also produced by the hypothalamus in the previous slide, encourages osteoclast activity, which makes the formation of building bone. And we know that calcium plays a really big role in the bone. So if you're not eating enough, you might come across hypocalcemia, which is the decreased calcium levels, and that can impact your bone. So we all know that the normal function is inhibited, and that leads to low testosterone, increased stress, and low bone mineral density. And that can lead to increased fractures. So that impacts the athlete in a huge way, because if you have a fracture, you cannot perform. And REDS also leads to irreversible bone loss. Next up is the cardiovascular system, one of my favorite systems. Low energy availability can cause irregular lipid profiles, so your HDLs, your LDLs, and the skin of the capillaries can be in dysfunction, so increasing cardiovascular risk. So when you're older, REDS can also impact you as well. Higher risk of heart attacks, higher risk of chronic heart disease. Last but not least, the immune system. We know, being a student at a college or just being at the age of an athlete, even in middle school, that it's due to a heavy impact demanding schedule that your immune system is going to decrease. But on top of the nutrition deficiencies, because you're not consuming enough food, can also impair the immune function and also impair these little soldiers of our body. So now that we've learned a little bit of the science and know what REDS is, how can we know that our friend or someone close to us has REDS? What are the screening and diagnostic tools? So, unfortunately, diagnosing REDS can be challenging because someone can have one symptom, two symptoms. They also could be asymptomatic. You just don't know what's really going on. So, we asked to have a periodic health examination, and this should screen to see if the athlete has disordered eating or eating disordered patterns, if they recently lost weight, are they not growing, do they have their period, have they performed at 100%, now they're performing at 50%, or if they've had mood changes. And so some tools that can help us are menstrual histories. When was their last period? A DEXA scanner is basically a little x-ray that looks at your bones to see how happy and healthy they are. A nutrient assessment, what does their skin look like? What does their hair look like? Are they drinking enough water? What is their eating pattern? And last but not least, blood and urine tests. Blood and urine tests can tell us what's going on in the body and also look at those tricky little lipid profiles like we talked before. So now that we've learned the screening tools, the science, what it is, what is our goal in order for treatment of REDS? What can we do as a dietitian? So the treatments can involve three things: increased energy intake, reduction in exercise, or a combination of both. So increased energy intake, we're going to educate these athletes using the hunger crushing complex, but we will dabble in the next slide. Creativity, this is where we are going to work with the athlete and design a meal plan with foods that they like, but also show them how much food that they need in order to combat their energy expenditure. And then balance. We are going to encourage balanced eating patterns, eating a snack when they are hungry, eating with teammates, listening to their body. Do they need a snack or do they need a full meal? And you're asking, what does dietitians have to do with physical exercise? Well, we encourage the reduction in exercise because you want to match your energy intake with your energy expenditure. So we encourage rest days. And we also encourage enjoyable movement if they are long distance runners and don't necessarily want to take a rest day because you don't want to shock them all at once. Maybe go on for a long walk, maybe try some yoga, or maybe do some funny little TikTok dance. So this is a video that I created on my YouTube explaining what the hunger crushing complex is. And basically it's just an intuitive way on designing a nutrient dense meal. So let's figure out what this is. Evidence-based hunger crushing complex. This trio contains protein, fiber, and healthy fats. So let's break it down a little bit further. Out of all the macronutrients, it works twice as harder, which means it stays longer in your digestive system. Also reduces ghrelin hormone levels. Fiber helps to reduce the glycemic index of carbohydrate-containing foods, as well as slowing down the transit time, delaying stomach emptying, slowing blood sugar crashes, and stays in the stomach longer. Fats are the strongest inhibitor of gastric emptying, so it means it stays longer in the stomach. All in all, you're fuller for longer. So my meals consisted of yogurt, granola, and fruit, avocado, toast, and eggs, ground beef, veggies, olive oil, salad with chicken, and an olive oil-based dressing. So hopefully we know the encourage of proteins, fats, and fiber is a great way to build our meals and also combat REDS. So this is basically what Caroline's recovery plan will look like. As you can see, yes, she is still working out with her teammates, but she's encouraging and using the hunger crushing complex. Also, you can see rest days, and on the weekends, we encourage rest days, but also we want to build her self-efficacy with foods that she likes, intuitive eating, and trying out new snacks and vegetables, and overall, just encouraging balance. So we have a little bit of time, so I wanted to work on a case study with you guys now that we're using all of our newfound knowledge about REDS. And eventually, one day, if we have a patient that walks into our door, maybe we can think of REDS. So let's talk about this and go over it. So everyone say hello to Sam. She weighs 110 pounds. Her height's 5'5", and she is 16 years old. Sam's a figure skater. She practices 5 hours, 7 days a week. She eats around 1,000 calories a day. She often skips meals due to she's fatigued. She skips breakfast due to she's heavy feeling. She doesn't like fast food. She doesn't eat desserts and watches her carbohydrates. Sam knows when she eats more, she performs better, but she tends to not. And loss of menses for a year. So she hasn't had her menstrual cycle for a year. She often complains of chronic knee and back pain. What are the red flags that stood out to you, and how can we help Sam? Caroline, how can we help Sam?
I would say maybe she should try to stop skipping meals because she's tired. I think if she skips a meal, that'll just make her more tired. And then if she knows that if she eats more and performs better, then maybe she should start doing that more often, because even in practice, she'll start performing better. And then perhaps her knee pain and back pain will go away.
Yes, you covered a lot of great topics. So the first thing we would notice is that she practices 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that means she practices a lot and she expends a lot of energy. She eats only about 1,000 calories a day. So this is where we use the MSJ, or energy calculating equation, to see how much energy she needs to consume. But basically encourage balanced eating, incorporating a little bit more snacks, maybe having a snack in the morning, a banana with almond butter, to make her fuel her workouts. Because she says that she's heavy feeling, so we don't want to encourage like a heavy full meal. That doesn't go along with her. She watches her carbohydrates, but our body main fuel source is carbohydrates. We want to work on encouraging eating more so she can eventually get her period back in order to help out her knee and her bone health. So, recap of what we learned about REDS, relative energy deficiency in sports. We previously known that it was called the female athlete triad, but we wanted to go beyond that. We wanted to include more of a population. RED impacts metabolic rate, menstrual function, bone health, protein synthesis, cardiovascular health. And all we know, anyone can develop REDS. We have multiple screening tools. We want to screen for eating disorders, disordered eating, weight loss, mood. We also want to perform a nutrient assessment, menstrual history, and we know that increasing energy intake, reduction in exercise, and a combination of both can eventually help your athlete on the road to recovery. So remember, go beyond the triad. Okay, questions?
Woo! How do you recommend more athletes learn about RAD-S, or how would they even know, or like, that they're not fueling their body properly?
So always I would recommend to talk to their primary healthcare provider if they have any questions about their health problems, and just sitting down and seeing that, maybe play with their meals to sit down and see, like, are my meals balanced? So using the hunger crushing complex, a source of protein, a source of fat and healthy fat, protein, fiber, and healthy fats. If your meals, do they look like that? How are your meals? Are they filling you up? Do they provide you with enough energy at the end of the day? And also just in playing around with the foods, like what foods work for you, what foods don't work for you, and just one day at a time fix it. If it's just too much at one time, then obviously, one day at a time. Health problems, if you're having like chronic knee pains, if you don't have your menstrual cycle, having your menstrual cycle is very important, crucial for women. That has to deal with your bone health, it has to deal with your estrogen levels, it has to do with a lot of other hormones. So if you don't have your menstrual cycle, it can eventually down the road lead to other problems. So that's another thing to bring up to your primary health care provider.
Thank you. I think that's my only question.
Okay, well, thank you. I had so much fun presenting for you guys and Caroline today.
Woo! Great job, Bethany.